Podfast is back, 6 minutes, one guest, and no time to waste. Alexandra Morris.
Hi.
Hello. Podcaster, women's health advocate. For those who have just clicked on, why should they keep listening?
Because there isn't a single person on the planet that isn't affected by women's health in some shape or form.
Such as?
Well, if you're a woman, then there are 1 in 10 women with endometriosis. There are 1 in 20 with PMDD, 1 in 5 with PCOS. So if you know 5, 10, 15, 20 women, you're talking about 3 or 4 different conditions just in that one group. And if you're a guy, we're talking about your mum, your sister, your potential girlfriend, your wife, your niece, your cousin. There are going to be women in your life that are suffering probably right now. And if you love them, you're going to want to listen.
First of all, let's break down those terms.
Okay, endometriosis, one of the most painful conditions in the world, top 20. Yep, it affects 1 in 10 women, as I said. It is when the lining of the womb is not the exact same, but a similar type. But that lining can grow anywhere in the body. We're talking about the brain, the heart, the liver, the lungs, the kidneys, arms, legs, feet, eyes, literally anything. And the amount of pain is excruciating. It is not cancer, but some people believe it behaves like cancer in the way that it spreads. It can be extremely aggressive. Women have lost organs because of it. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, 1 in 5 women. The biggest cause of infertility in women can cause unexplained weight gain, excessive hair growth, so women can get beards, which is joyful, can lose their hair. They can have irregular periods. They might have a few when they kind of go through puberty, and then they will just stop. Then you've got PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. 1 in 20 women. Women will experience suicidal ideation for potentially 1 to 2 weeks every single month, sometimes for their entire lives. Some women genuinely will think about taking their own life and will plan it and will fantasize about it because they feel like they shouldn't be here and like the world would be a better place if they're not here. And I've heard so many women say their GP just turned around to them and was like, yeah, you can't have kids, you're infertile, put yourself on the contraceptive pill, crack on. Yeah, and that was my reaction the first time, and even the first few times that I heard it. But it happens every single day. Literally right now, as we're talking, or as someone is listening to this, there's a woman sat in a GP's office right now who goes, yeah, you got PCOS, you're infertile, you won't be able to have kids, nothing we can do, take the contraceptive pill, good luck. There's a massive kind of focus on let's just give women something to suppress the symptoms and just deal with the superficial layer. And so many women then don't get any further investigation for years and years and years, sometimes ever. There's one lady that I spoke to very recently who was on the pill for 22 years, and because they refused to investigate, she's now had to have a full hysterectomy and had every single part of her reproductive system removed because things were so damaged and so destroyed, because no one had investigated and taken it seriously.
So when you were diagnosed, what do you wish someone would have said to you? And not like the, oh, it'll be all right in the end or whatever, like the real raw stuff that you just needed to hear in that moment.
I think what I needed to hear at the time was for people to stop telling me that I was too young to have something wrong with me. That was like one of the most common lines that I heard. It was like, you know, when things started at 16, it's like, oh, you're 16 years old, like you're healthy, you're young, there's nothing wrong with you. The only person that was waking up in pain every single day for years was me. Nobody else could feel that. So if I'm coming to you and I'm saying there is something wrong, this is what I am living in, this is how bad my quality of life is, then I need you to put the ego and the arrogance to the side and I need you to listen.
When you were diagnosed with endo and adeno, what I want to know is, what happened to the version of Alexandra that died that day? I'm not talking about, the physical pain, but the futures that you planned, the hopes that you wanted. Because I think there are a lot of women who would listen and want to know they're not alone in this.
Yeah, the thing that I always say that always is the forefront of my mind when I get asked that question, it's such a good question, is that on the day of diagnosis, I just remember sitting there and thinking that I had completely failed as a woman. To have a part of my body that doesn't work in the way that it should, and to have something that feels like it's malfunctioning and it's fighting against me, it's attacking itself. But for me, the biological basis of being a woman was to have a reproductive system, to hold a baby, for that egg to be released, the lining to shed, and that cycle to go over every month. And the fact that mine wasn't doing it in the way that it should, quotation marks, completely broke my heart. So I feel like the part of me that died that day was my young, naive interpretation and perspective of what it meant to be a woman. And that had to change. And I learned that I haven't failed as a woman. I'm not any less than somebody else. Doesn't make me less than, someone without these conditions. But I had to really work to kind of understand that. But yeah, that's the part that really broke my heart.
How would I go about assisting my partner if they have endometriosis or get diagnosed? As a man, what could I do to assist?
I love that question. Totally love that question. So I think the biggest thing with anyone with these very painful conditions or incurable conditions, the hardest thing to learn as the partner, the family member, whoever it is that you can't fix it. You can't fix it. You can't cure it. As much as you love them, unfortunately, you won't be able to take that pain away from them. But if you do love that person, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And if you can, just being there, holding space, holding them, making them feel safe is one of the most powerful things that you can do. The second thing, education. Understand what it is they're going through. Understand the condition, educate yourself, educate together if you want to do it together, if you want to learn together. And I think the third thing is embrace the new lifestyle that they have to lead.
And I'm single. What can single men do to help?
Young men, like men across the board, I think are done a totally unfair job. Like I feel really sorry for you guys, because I just think that you're given a really unfair hand. But I think if we go all the way back into school, I mean, especially for me, when we had sex education in secondary school, it was like, boys, you go off into that classroom, girls, you go off into that classroom, right? Men and women are going to end up together. Biologically, as we're talking about, very, very raw basic biology, men and women need to be together to reproduce, to make a baby. That is what nature intended. So to separate kids at such a young age and be like, oh, you're only going to secretly talk about your stuff and they'll secretly talk about our stuff, it immediately creates that divide. It immediately creates a gap. So how are you guys meant to support us and meant to help us and be great boyfriends and friends when, you're taken away from that conversation really young? So if you can get over the slight oh, this is a bit weird, I don't really get it, I don't really know if I'm that comfortable talking about it, if you can get over that and, have the bravery and the courage to be like, do you know what, I want to end up with a girl one day, I'm going to learn about it, I'm going to figure out that she's going to be 4 different versions of herself throughout the month. She'll be a lucky girl when she finds you. Definitely.
Alexandra, we have a closing tradition on this podcast, which is where the guest, regardless of who they are, answers this one question. And that is, what is one message you've never sent, but you wish everyone would receive?
I think one message would be that we all have the ability to behave like arseholes. But what makes the difference between someone that is an arsehole and someone behaves like an arsehole is the fact that you can acknowledge it, you can apologise, and apologise means changing your behaviour. It doesn't mean the words. You could say sorry 100 times, but it loses the quality of the word. If you behave like an idiot, and we all do throughout our entire lives, no matter who we are, but if you can put your ego aside and go, I messed up, I'm going to apologise, but I'm going to add actions to that apology, that is what makes the difference between behaving like one and being one.
Well said. Well said. Alexandra, thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely brilliant, and the work that you're doing is phenomenal. I'm a huge fan, and long may it continue.
Thank you for having me.
No worries.